Hello and welcome to Cannabis Lab, Elevate Your Grind. This is a podcast where we explore entrepreneurs in the cannabis space. Today's episode is brought to you by Cannabis Lab. Check out our official after party for Benzinga, which you won't know about because we're recording this and it's not live. It's also brought to you by Real Cloud Pros. Running a cannabis company is hard enough as it is. Let us handle your IT, let you focus on your business. And also this episode is brought to us by Cannafornia, and we are joined by my guest today, Paul King, founder, CEO of Cannafornia. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Todd. Good
Awesome.
to be here.
Well, Paul, I've been seeing you at a lot of different places lately. You guys are making the rounds. To me, it looks like you're trying to make a little invasion of Florida here.
We are invading Florida. We're ready to compete with True Leave. We're ready to take everyone down.
Very, very cool. So, Paul, the cool thing I like about you is you've got a great story, right? You are a serial entrepreneur. This is not your first rodeo when it comes to business. So, to me, it seems like you kind of knew what you wanted to do at a young age, right? You went to some really good schools and just really started killing it with your first business. So, were you very entrepreneurial at a young age, or did it kind of, I know a lot of my friends that happened who be in the cannabis space were considered lazy stoners back then, but once they got out of school and got a paycheck, it was game over and they became some of the most successful entrepreneurs I've seen. What was your upbringing like in that sense?
I think that, once you taste entrepreneurship, you get addicted to it. And I just happened to taste it when I was kind of young. I was 19. I started giving tennis lessons because we won a high school state championship when I was a senior.
That's awesome.
And I just started giving tennis lessons. And then I had so many lessons, I was busy 10 hours a day. And I was like, I don't have any time for anything, right? So my summer from college, I wanted to enjoy it. So I turned the kids into a tennis camp, and I ended up making like 20 grand over the summer. And that was my first taste. I was like, I don't want to do anything else. I want to be.
So that is an example of entrepreneurship right there. You figured, I've got as many clients as I can handle. I can't handle anymore. I'm only one person. So how do I do the same thing and make more money? Well, let's do a whole camp.
Let's do a whole camp. We picked kids up in the morning. The parents loved us because the kids were gone for like 6 hours. We brought them back tired. They passed out right away. So everyone was happy all around.
Very cool, man. You're from Miami originally, or you're a California guy?
So I was born in Russia. My family immigrated. We moved to New York when I was 4. And then from there, just Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, kind of all over. And then after college, I went to Carnegie Mellon. And then after college, I moved to Miami.
Very cool. Anything specific brought you down here, or?
My family moved. So when I was in college, I was lucky. My family moved from Jersey to Miami. And
very cool.
I never wanted to leave.
So from the tennis camp, after that, how long between the tennis camp were there other ventures you had until you had the phone charging business? And it's much more than just phone charging, and we'll get into that in a second. But one of the coolest, simplest ideas that I'm sure a lot of people had it, but you did it and you capitalized on it.
So the real story is I got high one day, me and my buddy, and we're like, we're in college right now, but we don't want to go get a job. So we got high. We tried to find a Walmart. We couldn't find a Walmart. We found a Walgreens. We walked aisle to aisle, took a pad and pen, and we're just like, how do we make this toothbrush better? How do we make this charger better? And we came up with the idea that, you could charge your phone when you're at home, but when you're in a public place like this, where do you charge your phone, right? There's no outlets, there's no chargers. So we're like, we should make a machine. And we went to China. We put a kiosk together that charges your phone. You could lock it, and you could go to a bar, concert, whatever, and charge your phone if your phone's dead.
That's incredible. I mean, gone are the days of having to ask the bartender if they have a charger or anything else. The business was incredible. One of the things you had mentioned is you and your buddy went to Walmart and did it together, right? Just listen to a big thing with Gary Vaynerchuk, and his whole thing now is when you graduate college, go find a crew. Go find people who are like-minded with you, go live with them, and instead of going to live in Manhattan and living in a shitty apartment with 1 or 2 people, go an hour out, have a much nicer place, and then start your business out there. But it's cool because you have your crew with you, so you don't miss anything. Do you think if you didn't have those friends that were kind of in the same boat with you, do you think you would have done it on your own, or did that help?
That helped a lot. I don't know if I would have done it on my own because I needed that push. Like, we were in college, we don't know how to start a business. But just having him be like, yeah, we could, like when I'm down, he's up, right?
Yeah.
When he's down, I'm up. You just need someone to give you that energy and motivation sometimes when things are really tough and you don't even know where to go. You just need somebody to help lift you up.
That's really cool having that support system like that. So you did the tennis camp, which was successful. You did the phone chargers, which were successful. And I'm sure there's a bunch of little other things in there too that we'll probably glance over here. But then Cannafornia, right? So I'm sure everybody who's smoked a joint that has any kind of business sense was like, shit, I want to get into cannabis. I remember personally when Florida passed it and they were giving out licenses, the first thought I had was, I know people who own farms and nurseries. I'm going to go for a license. Obviously, I'm sitting here interviewing you, so it didn't work out. But how did you get out to California and get that license to just figure, I'm going to leave Miami, everything I know, go out there, and I'm going to start a cannabis business? Not only that, I'm going to start a cannabis business that is massively successful, that it's going to scale back into my home state.
I mean, I wish I could tell you that was the plan from the beginning. It really wasn't. I was like, I hope I could get to Cali, and I hope I could figure something out to just support myself on cannabis. And I started with a little 5,000 square foot grow, and it started doing well. And then I had investors starting to come in, and it grew way faster than I expected it to. I think I was in the right place at the right time, and I approached it very humble. You know, every little break I got, I was very thankful for it, and I always try to be straightforward with investors and just always told them the truth. You know, if we had a bad grow, I tell them we have a bad grow. If we had a problem, I tell them we have a problem. And I think that trust is important. And in cannabis, there's a lot of people that don't tell you how it is. Which if you do say how it is to investors, you stand out from everybody else, and it opens up the opportunity.
No, I agree with that. I think the problem with this industry is there's a lot of people, and I think a lot of these people have good intentions, but they're so scared of not making it, they don't want to be transparent. They don't realize that when you have the right investors that, like your buddy was, they're there for you, right? You have a bad grow, they're figuring out, because they don't want to lose their money, how do we fix it? How do we make it better? Who can we introduce you to? Is that how you felt? By being transparent?
Yeah, I mean, then my partners would start to help me, right? How about you try this, or talk to this person, or think about this, and it became teamwork, right? Like, I think if I'm good at anything, it's really just bringing in everyone as a team and having everyone know that, I don't know everything. Bring all your ideas. Let's think. Let's talk. And at the end of the day, if we could get all the ideas on the table and pick the best ones, then we're going to lead a good company.
I think that's great. I mean, I think you kind of look like, not that your investors work for you, but they're part of your team, right? So when you're in a pinch, can I call them up and will they help me, right? And I think that's truly how you pick the best investors. I give you a ton of credit because I think companies like yours that didn't try to just go after mass amounts of market share and spent their cash wisely, now you're in a position that you can move into Florida, you can move into another state, and what MedMen was, you're going to be the future of, right? And do it the right way. So,
yeah, we think so. I mean, we built it on a solid foundation. We wanted to get to profitability right away. It took us 16 months. And we knew that once we were profitable, we could navigate where we want to go, and we weren't reliant on more investors coming in. And once we got that, and once the market dipped, we were able to make a really good deal on a Florida license. And now, but it was hard, we're watching MedMen soar, we're watching all these MSOs soar, and everyone's like, oh, you guys should be an MSO, you should be in all these other states, you should do this and that. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't. It's really hard to even be in one state, we should focus here. And we knew that we were right. It just took time to play out, but it's really hard to stay that focused when you see all these other companies getting hundreds of millions of dollars.
Did you have people that had come to you to try to not give you money, but offer things like that you turned down and just kind of said, we've got our plan? Or?
Yeah, we had people come in that offered 10, 20, 30 million if you guys go into this state, that state. And we said no, because we knew that if we did that, the whole company would be at risk.
That's amazing. So, I know you've got a phenomenal Instagram. You've got probably 500,000 followers, which is incredible. You're kind of like the Dan Bilzerian of cannabis. He's more CBD with Ignite too. I'm sure he is Vegas and everything else. But, it's amazing that a CEO of a company can have 500,000 followers. Did that come from California, or did you do stuff outside of that to build your following?
We really focus on Instagram through Cannafornia. To get a big following, you can't just be talking about cannabis all day. So we mix in entertainment, we mix in stuff that most people are interested in, not just cannabis people. So that's it. We just we bring beautiful girls, and the more beautiful girls you have, the more people want to watch it. But we also bring the knowledge and something that people want to learn about the industry, about cannabis.
Well, I think that's awesome because you really, in today's world, you have to appeal to everybody, right? You can't please everybody all the time. And for you, you're bringing entertainment to the table, but for that person who's coming for entertainment, they might actually learn something with following it. Cool. So I want to touch on one of the videos, and I heard you talking about it earlier when they asked you if smoking cannabis makes you smarter, right? And I remember your answer, but I want to take a different spin on it because I know that was kind of like a fun play on words, right? One of the things I really like doing with the podcast is bringing in entrepreneurs who use cannabis too, because the stigma out there is that we're all lazy stoners, right? And there's a big stigma on this industry. The industry is full of lazy stoners, but here we are, we're at the Benzinga conference down in Miami, Florida. There are people in suits and ties. There are real investors here with real money. There are real entrepreneurs, and forget the suits and ties because I know entrepreneurs don't need to dress that way, but these are serious business people here, right? So, do you think that smoking cannabis every day hurt you in doing what you did? Because you're a pretty successful entrepreneur, and obviously you use it, you're all about it. What would you say about that stigma?
I want to answer that, but first I want to let the girls answer because they're both smokers, and I think they have a good answer for it.
Sure. So let's get you close to the microphones here. We only have one. We don't have a huge budget for this show, but thank you for joining us.
Honestly, I think it transforms the way that I approach my creatives, whether it's music or whatever. It just helps me find my truth. So every day for me, at least once a day, it just helps elevate that.
Very cool.
Did you smoke this morning?
Yeah.
Well, I like to say I'm a functional stoner, so I've gone to college, smoked all through college, smoked all through high school, got not straight A's, maybe a couple B's, but had I applied myself more, I definitely could have. But I definitely think it just is more of a creative outlet just because I'm also an art student, so it helps me, with it depends on the strain too. Some strains make you sleepy, makes you lazy, but you can get a sativa that makes you feel more
A conscious.
To me, there's definitely a ton more research, and I think, to your point, I think with the different strains, everybody should educate themselves on how they respond to a different strain, because we can sit here all day long and say, yes, cannabis has helped me with this, and this, but somebody gets a heavy indica and it might just help them fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
So, I agree with that. I think it does help in situations for sure, but I think everybody needs to know their body, and that's not just a disclaimer, that's my honest opinion. So.
And also knowing not just the THC percentage, but also the components like CBDG helps you gain weight. THCV helps you curb the appetite. So it's also about knowing what you want from your product.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
I think also truly listening to your body too.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself.
Very cool. And that's something that we're really starting to get into on the show a lot too, is the terpenes and the other things in the cannabis, not just THC percentage. And I don't know if you guys are doing that at Cannafornia. And I've mentioned this 100 times, I'm sure everyone's sick of me saying it, but Leafly has changed the way that they promote strains, right? And I call it the kaleidoscope, and eventually I'll find out the real name of it, but it talks about the terpenes that are in the strain. It talks about the different makeups and the prominency of each terpene, and it's not just sativa or indica. Have you guys started migrating towards that model of promoting your strains?
Yeah, so there's 10,000 strains out there. It's kind of hard to get your head around everything, so we try to help consumers by telling them that if you have migraines and headaches, try this. If you want to be energetic and go to the gym, try this. If you want to go to sleep, try this. There's different ways, and so I personally do it when I give strains to people. I do it, and we trained our people to do it too. And I think everyone just has to experiment a little bit, be open to it. But cannabis is beautiful, and for an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of the stress off.
Oh yeah.
We deal with a lot of stuff. There's always a million balls in the air.
There's no one else to blame but yourself. Everyone blames the guy above him, and then you're like, oh wait, it's me.
Fuck yeah.
So
no one else to turn to.
So one of the last things that I want to touch on with you, and I get inspiration from a lot of weird places, right? So I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, and out of all people, there's a stand-up, Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, and he's very big on the sacrifice, right? That everybody can be successful, but what are you willing to sacrifice to get to where you want? Now, I know that you sacrifice a lot, because I remember when I saw you speak last, you talked about sleeping on the farm, you literally slept at your business, right? So talk to us about the early days of Cannafornia, and even with the cell phone charging company, what were those sacrifices that you made in order to be the person that you are today, to stand here and say, I am a successful entrepreneur, I am a CEO of a cannabis business, I'm living my dream, but I'm living my dream because I had to give up all of this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been through it all. Like, I've been through fires that took down the greenhouses that I had, where I had like no backup money. Like, I've been through everything. I slept inside the greenhouses to make sure that there's no light leaks. Like, you know, like it didn't. We weren't always like at this point where we're growing and expanding. We were at points where the business was on the line. It could go or it could fail, and it was those moments that really try you and see what you're about. Like, do you really want to be in this? Are you sure you want to give it all up? Like, living on the farm for 9 months, not leaving on the weekends. You know, but I think going through all that, as opposed to these other guys that might have come in with $100 million raise, where they're just like blowing money left and right.
Yeah.
Like, I know what it was to not have any money to blow. So I think I just keep that mentality, and that's what keeps us going the way we are.
So is that, in an industry where everything essentially almost needs to be paid with cash, is that really one of the biggest advantages a company can have, is really knowing how to manage their cash over IP, over grow facilities and everything else, just being able to handle your cash the right way?
I think so. I think like you have to approach it like a super conservative, cheap like banker. Like, you have to look at every single thing. You have to be very, very, very cheap, because it's easy when you get a big raise to start blowing money everywhere, but you have to deal with that 6 months or a year later. So it's if you want to build it, like we want Cannafornia to be one of the biggest brands in the world, and we've raised like very little. We've raised 20 million so far compared to these other guys, and what we've done on that is crazy. Like 40 million in revenues this year, 7 million in profits, expanding to Florida. No one comes close to that, and the only way we got there was by just being really smart, really cheap.
Do you attribute some of that thriftiness to your guys' skill with social media? I mean, because think about it, social media, the true investment is time. Now you can promote ads and everything else, but your true investment with social media is time. Do you think that's one of the reasons that helped you succeed without spending a ton of cash?
Yeah, definitely. My marketing team is amazing. It's only 2 people, and they do everything. Like, they're kicking everyone's ass every day of like 15, 20 people marketing teams.
So to me, you're expanding into Florida, and you approach this conference the right way. You've got an entourage with you. It wasn't just Paul King coming down and, hey, nice to meet you, I'm looking to expand to Florida. You brought your team, and you're like, hey, Florida, we're here. We've got a bunch of your team watching us right now. Everybody's taking pictures of you. It just seems like you guys are constantly putting content out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're a team. We go everywhere together. We all have a unified mission. I mean, we're the only ones out here. Like, True Leaf spoke, right? And True Leaf has a great company. I don't want to take anything away from them, but you look around, there's nothing here, right? But you see the Cannafornia girls, you see people wearing the Cannafornia hats. I mean, that's the thing. We're always thinking about marketing and always thinking about getting people to experience the brand, because we know we have the best brand.
So one of the cool things I like too is your guys' merch is not just a boring branded merch. It actually is cool looking. It's stuff that people probably want to wear. So I sat down with Brady Cobb at One Plant, which is one of the 14 down here, and I said the same thing to him, right? I think one of the advantages that he has is in the cannabis culture, cool is still a thing, right? So if someone has a shirt that just kind of says Cannafornia, you're not going to wear it, but that hoodie you can probably sell without people even knowing what it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the name gives you like the vibrancy, the feel, the happiness, right? It's all these different colors, which we all love. Like, you want to smoke a joint and you want to like look up at the clouds and the sun, and you want to get lifted, and it's all with that same vibe that we're building our brand on. It's like a lot of cannabis brands are like dark and like. It's just, that's not what we're about. We want to carry that message and have everyone feel better after they try the product.
Very cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. I know you've got an awesome conference here. Is there anything else that you want to promote Cannafornia in Florida, Cannafornia anywhere? Just girls, if there's anything that you guys want, just please take a moment here.
You girls got anything?
I just have high intentions.
High intentions. That's good.
And buy Cannafornia merch.
Yes.
Check out the merch, and And look out for Cannafornia coming to Florida. We're going to have 35 stores here pretty soon. We just partnered with a really good real estate fund that just got out of that meeting. They're going to fund 35 dispensaries for us. We're really excited about that.
Wow.
We're going to have 1 million square feet here in a couple months. So we're coming for Florida.
So guys, look out for Cannafornia down here. I'm excited for you guys to come in. Really appreciate you sitting down with me. You've been awesome, since I've met you. Really excited to watch your progress here, man. And thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you, man. You've been awesome too.
Awesome. Well, actually, the last thing I'm going to say is, this is for Cannabis Lab, so hopefully as you guys come to Florida, you guys get involved with Cannabis Lab, and then all you out there can meet Paul in person. So thank you guys for joining us, and have a good one.